After 12 men met in his bedroom in 1844, what organization was founded by Sir George Williams? YMCA. The Young Men's Christian Association, YMCA, was founded in London in 1844 by Sir George Williams. It was established to provide a safe and moral environment for young men migrating to the city for work during the Industrial Revolution, focusing on their spiritual, intellectual, social, and physical development. The musical, Kiss Me Kate, is based on which Shakespearean play? The Taming of the Shrew. The critically acclaimed musical, Kiss Me Kate, with music and lyrics by Cole Porter, is famously based on William Shakespeare's comedic play, The Taming of the Shrew. It ingeniously intertwines the backstage drama of a theatrical production with the onstage antics of the Shakespearean plot. What was notable about the jobs held by Anne Hayes and Elizabeth Hoisington at the end of May 1970? They were the first women generals in the U.S. Army. In May 1970, Anna May Hayes and Elizabeth P. Hoisington made history by becoming the first two women to achieve the rank of Brigadier General in the United States Army. Their promotions marked a significant milestone for women in the military, breaking long-standing gender barriers in senior leadership roles. What word is used to describe the situation where blood has pooled at the lowest point of a dead body? Hypostasis. Hypostasis, also medically known as livor mortis, refers to the post-mortem process where blood settles in the capillaries and veins of the lowest parts of a dead body due to gravity. This pooling causes a purplish discoloration of the skin, providing crucial information in forensic pathology regarding the time of death and any changes in body position. Where is the Iberian Peninsula located? In Western Europe, between the Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea. The Iberian Peninsula is a major landmass in southwestern Europe, encompassing Spain, Portugal, and Andorra. Its strategic location between the Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea has historically made it a crucial crossroads for various cultures and maritime trade routes. In Greece, what is the name of the traditional dish primarily consisting of cucumber mixed with garlic and yogurt? Tzatziki. Tzatziki is a classic Greek and Middle Eastern dip or sauce made from strained yogurt, grated cucumber, garlic, olive oil, and sometimes vinegar or lemon juice. It is widely served as a meze, appetizer, or as a refreshing condiment with grilled meats. Who established that an individual's fingerprints remain constant throughout their lifetime? Sir Francis Galton. Sir Francis Galton, a pioneering Victorian polymath and statistician, conducted extensive research on fingerprints in the late 19th century. His seminal work, Fingerprints, 1892, confirmed their uniqueness and immutability, laying the scientific foundation for their use in forensic identification. From whom did the plant genus Fuchsia derive its name? A 16th century botanist. The plant genus Fuchsia asterisk, known for its distinctive pendulous flowers, was named by French botanist Charles Plumier in the early 18th century. He honored Leonhard Fuchs, a prominent German physician and botanist of the 16th century, celebrated for his detailed herbal book, the Historia Stirpium Commentarii Insignis asterisk. What ancient Sumerian city, renowned for its ziggurat, flourished on the banks of the Euphrates River between approximately 3200 and 2300 BC? Ur was one of the most significant Sumerian city-states in ancient Mesopotamia, located in modern-day Iraq. It was a thriving center of trade, art, and religion, particularly known for its great ziggurat, a massive step pyramid dedicated to the moon god Nanna. On the 4th of June 2008, the International Olympic Committee announced the finalist cities for hosting the 2016 Summer Olympics. Besides Chicago, Tokyo, and Madrid, which other city was a finalist? Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. The selection of an Olympic host city involves a highly competitive international bidding process and significant geopolitical considerations. Rio de Janeiro was ultimately chosen to host the 2016 Summer Olympics, making it the first South American city to stage the Olympic Games, a decision with major economic and infrastructural implications for Brazil. For his contribution to the development of what area of transport is U.S. inventor and engineer Robert Fulton known? Steam power for ships. Robert Fulton was an American engineer and inventor widely credited for developing the first commercially successful steamboat, the North River Steamboat, later known as Clermont, in 1807. His work revolutionized water transport and trade, significantly impacting the Industrial Revolution. How is a Venetian gondola propelled? The operator stands and uses an oar. A Venetian gondola is traditionally propelled by a gondolier using a single oar, or remo**, while standing at the stern facing forward. This unique method allows for precise navigation through Venice's narrow canals. What name was given to a group of painters who first exhibited in Paris in 1906, including Matisse, Braque, Derain, Van Dongen and Duffy, who presented bold forms, brilliant colors and clearly defined patterns? Les Fauves. Les Fauves, meaning, the wild beasts, in French, was a loose group of early 20th century artists whose works emphasized strong, vibrant colors and bold brushstrokes over realistic representation. Key figures like Henri Matisse and André Derain pioneered this movement, which significantly influenced modern art. Who was the first English actor to be knighted? Henry Irving. Henry Irving was a prominent English stage actor and theatre manager of the Victorian era. He became the first actor to be knighted in 1895, a recognition that significantly elevated the social status of his profession. The repeating decimal of which number equals the real number 1? 0.999. The repeating decimal 0.999, often written as 0.9 with a vinculum or dot above the 9, is mathematically equivalent to the real number 1. This concept illustrates the properties of infinite series and real numbers, where the difference between them approaches 0. In what year did the airship Graf Zeppelin complete the first round-the-world flight in September, and inaugurate the first commercial transatlantic service in October? 1929. In 1929, the German airship LZ-127 Graf Zeppelin completed its historic round-the-world flight, commanded by Hugo Eckener. Later that year, it also inaugurated the first commercial transatlantic passenger service, marking a significant milestone in aviation and long-distance travel. The Rock of Gibraltar and Mount Abila on the African coast were known as what? The Pillars of Hercules. The Rock of Gibraltar and Mount Abila, or Monte Hacho, in Ceuta, North Africa, were collectively known in antiquity as the Pillars of Hercules. These geographical features marked the entrance to the Mediterranean Sea from the Atlantic Ocean, representing the traditional limit of the known world for ancient mariners. What is the meaning of the term, micturition? Urinating. Micturition is the physiological process of expelling urine from the bladder, also known as urination. This complex process involves both voluntary and involuntary muscle contractions, regulated by the nervous system. Which two American track and field athletes, who finished first and third in the 200 meters, performed the Black Power salute on the victory stand at the 1968 Olympics in Mexico City, leading to their expulsion? Tommy Smith and John Carlos. At the 1968 Mexico City Olympics, Tommy Smith and John Carlos raised their gloved fists in a Black Power salute during the 200 meters medal ceremony. This act of protest against racial injustice in the United States led to their expulsion from the Games and sparked global debate on athletes' political expression. Who first formulated the three laws of planetary motion? Johannes Kepler. Johannes Kepler, a German astronomer, first published his 3 laws of planetary motion between 1609 and 1619. These laws describe the elliptical orbits of planets around the Sun, their varying speeds, and the relationship between their orbital periods and distances, fundamentally advancing our understanding of celestial mechanics. In mathematics, what word is used as a shorthand for if and only if? If. In mathematics and logic, IFF is an abbreviation for the phrase if and only if. It indicates a biconditional relationship, meaning that 2 statements are true or false under precisely the same conditions, implying mutual logical equivalence. Which prominent military academy was established in 1802 on the Hudson River in the USA? West Point. The United States Military Academy at West Point, commonly known as West Point, was established in 1802. Located on the Hudson River in New York, it is one of the world's most prestigious military academies, dedicated to training officers for the U.S. Army. In 1946, what territory did the USA offer to purchase for $100 million? Greenland. In 1946, the United States offered Denmark $100 million to purchase Greenland, following strategic considerations during the Cold War. This was not the first time the US had shown interest, having also considered buying the island in 1867. Which renowned composer of musicals was knighted in 1992 and elevated to a life peerage in 1997? Andrew Lloyd Webber. Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber is an acclaimed British composer known for highly successful musicals such as The Phantom of the Opera and Cats. His significant contributions to theatre were recognized with a knighthood in 1992 and a life peerage in 1997, making him Baron Lloyd Webber. What is the name for the CGS unit of work, defined as the work done by a force of 1 dyne moving through a distance of 1 centimeter? ERG. An ERG is a unit of energy and mechanical work in the centimeter-gram-second, CGS, system of units. It is defined as the work done by a force of 1 dyne acting over a distance of 1 centimeter. 1 ERG is equivalent to 10 to the power of 7 joules. Which popular board game, involving reptiles, is based on the ancient Indian game called Vakuntapoli or Paramapad Sopanam? Snakes and Ladders. Snakes and Ladders is a globally popular board game that originated in ancient India as Vakuntapoli or Paramapad Sopanam. Originally, it was a morality game where ladders represented virtues and snakes vices, reflecting Hindu philosophy of karma and destiny. Which British organization, founded in 1939 under Basil Dean and disbanded in 1946, was responsible for mobilizing the entertainment industry during wartime? ENSA. ENSA, the Entertainment's National Service Association, was a British organization established in 1939 under Basil Dean. Its primary role during World War II was to provide entertainment for British Armed Forces personnel, factory workers, and civilians, playing a crucial morale-boosting role. What is the acronym developed by the European Union as the geocode standard for referencing the administrative divisions of countries for statistical purposes? NUTS. NUTS, which stands for Nomenclature of Territorial Units for Statistics, is a geocode standard developed by the European Union. It provides a hierarchical classification of administrative divisions within countries for the purpose of collecting, compiling, and disseminating harmonized regional statistics. The Göta Canal connects Gothenburg, Sweden, with which body of water? Baltic Sea. The Göta Canal is a historic waterway in Sweden, connecting a series of lakes and rivers across the country. It links the North Sea, via Kattegat and Lake Vänern, to the Baltic Sea, serving as a significant engineering marvel and tourist attraction. who started Poor Richard's Almanac in 1732, helped draw up the U.S. Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution, and invented the lightning conductor? Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin was a polymath and one of the founding fathers of the United States. He was a leading author, printer, political theorist, scientist, inventor, like the lightning rod, and diplomat, crucial in drafting foundational U.S. documents. Who emerged as the top Chinese communist leader during the Long March in 1934? Mao Zedong. Mao Zedong rose to prominence as the undisputed leader of the Chinese Communist Party during the Long March, 1934-1935. This strategic military retreat solidified his authority and ideological framework, ultimately leading to the establishment of the People's Republic of China. Who was the English prison reformer from 1817 to 1840 whose husband was a big name in the cocoa business? Elizabeth Fry. Elizabeth Fry was a prominent English social reformer and philanthropist, renowned for her tireless efforts to improve prison conditions. Her work significantly influenced prison reform in the UK and internationally, advocating for more humane treatment of prisoners, particularly women and children. What was created by the Lateran Treaty signed by Italy in 1929? Vatican City. The Lateran Treaty, signed in 1929 between the Kingdom of Italy and the Holy See, established Vatican City as an independent sovereign state. This treaty resolved the Roman question, ending the long-standing dispute over the temporal power of the Pope after the unification of Italy. What is the common term for pre-patellar bursitis? Housemaid's knee. Pre-patellar bursitis is an inflammation of the bursa located in front of the kneecap, patella. It is commonly known as housemaid's knee, due to its association with occupations requiring prolonged kneeling, which can cause repetitive trauma to the bursa. What is the musical term for a slight fluctuation in pitch produced by a stringed instrument player shaking a finger while stopping a string? Vibrato. Vibrato is a musical effect consisting of a regular, pulsating change in pitch. It is commonly produced on stringed instruments by varying the pressure and position of the finger on the string, creating a rich and expressive tone. Who was the nephew of Emperor Franz Joseph of Austria and heir to the throne, who renounced his children's right to succession to make a morganatic marriage with Countess Sophie Chotek, and was assassinated with her in Bosnia in 1914? Archduke Franz Ferdinand. Archduke Franz Ferdinand was the heir presumptive to the Austro-Hungarian throne. His assassination in Sarajevo on June 28, 1914, by Gavrilo Princip, a Serbian nationalist, is widely considered the immediate trigger for the outbreak of World War I. When was the armistice for World War I signed? 11 a.m. on November 11, 1918. The Armistice of Compiègne was signed between the Allies and Germany in a railway carriage in Compiègne, France. It marked the end of fighting on the Western Front of World War I, coming into effect at 11 a.m. on the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918, hence the popular phrase, the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. What were T.S. Eliot's first names? Thomas Stearns. T.S. Eliot, Thomas Stearns Eliot, was an American-born British poet, essayist, publisher, playwright, literary critic, and editor. He is considered one of the 20th century's most influential poets, receiving the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1948 for his outstanding contribution to poetry. Which island is named after one of the earliest European explorers to reach Australia and New Zealand? Tasmania. Tasmania is an island state of Australia, named after the Dutch explorer Abel Tasman. Tasman was the first known European explorer to sight the island in 1642, initially naming it Van Diemen's Land, thus making a significant contribution to global geographical knowledge. What is the common English contraction for the German, Nationalsozialistische Deutsche Arbeiterpartie? Nazi. The term, Nazi, is a widely recognized contraction of the German, Nationalsozialistische Deutsche Arbeiterpartie, which translates to, National Socialist German Workers' Party. This political party, led by Adolf Hitler, was responsible for the Holocaust and initiating World War II, making its name's origin significant historical knowledge. Which city, formerly the Roman town of Windobourne, became the capital of the Duchy of Austria in 1156 and the capital of the Habsburg power base in the 13th century? Vienna. Vienna, the capital of Austria, boasts a rich history dating back to its Roman origins as Windobourne. It served as the capital of the Duchy of Austria and subsequently became the powerful center of the Habsburg monarchy for centuries, profoundly influencing European politics, culture, and arts. What was Lieutenant C.D. Lucas, R.N., the first to receive as a result of his involvement in the bombardment of a Russian fortress in the Baltic on the 21st of June 1854? Victoria Cross. Lieutenant C.D. Lucas, Royal Navy, was the first recipient of the Victoria Cross, the highest military decoration for valor, in the face of the enemy, in the British and Commonwealth Armed Forces. He was awarded it for his bravery during the Crimean War in 1854, specifically for throwing a live shell overboard during the bombardment of Bomarshund. The musical, The King and I, is associated with which geographical area? Thailand. The musical, The King and I, is a classic work by Rodgers and Hammerstein, based on the 1944 novel, Anna and the King of Siam. The story is set in 1860s Siam, which is modern-day Thailand, highlighting the cultural and historical interactions between Western and Eastern societies of that era. Which Greek letter usually denotes the brightest star in a constellation? Alpha. In stellar nomenclature, the Greek letter alpha, is typically used to denote the brightest star in a constellation, a system popularized by Johann Bayer in 1603. For example, Alpha Centauri is the brightest star in the Centaurus constellation. Who made 5 attempts to win back the America's Cup from the New York Yacht Club between 1899 and 1930, with boats named Shamrock? Sir Thomas Lipton. Sir Thomas Lipton, the Scottish tea magnate, is renowned for his 5 challenges for the America's Cup, sailing his yachts named Shamrock between 1899 and 1930. Despite never winning the trophy, his persistent sportsmanship made him a popular and respected figure in yachting history. Which journey by astronauts James Lovell, John Swigert, and Fred Haise in 1970 almost ended in disaster? Apollo 13. Apollo 13 was NASA's 7th crewed mission in the Apollo space program, launched in 1970. An onboard explosion critically damaged the spacecraft, forcing the crew to abandon their moon landing objective and undertake a perilous return journey to Earth. The lyrics of which song were inspired by the successful American defense of Fort McHenry in September 1814? The Star-Spangled Banner. The Star-Spangled Banner, the national anthem of the United States, originated from a poem titled, Defense of Fort McHenry, by Francis Scott Key. Key wrote the poem after witnessing the bombardment of Fort McHenry by British forces during the War of 1812. What is a name for a handheld weapon used to strangle someone to death? Garrote. A garrote is a weapon or instrument, often a cord or wire, used to strangle an individual. Historically, it also refers to a method of capital punishment by strangulation, notably practiced in Spain. From which English port did the first pilgrims sail to America? Plymouth. The Pilgrims, a group of English separatists seeking religious freedom, embarked from Plymouth, England, aboard the Mayflower in September 1620. Their journey culminated in the establishment of Plymouth Colony in North America. At which Olympiad did the Olympic symbol of 5 rings officially debut? 1920, Antwerp. The iconic Olympic symbol, consisting of 5 interlocking rings representing the 5 inhabited continents and the universal meeting of athletes, officially debuted at the 1920 Summer Olympics held in Antwerp, Belgium. The design was conceived by Pierre de Coubertin in 1913. The spiny leguminous plant called furze is also known as what? Gauze. Furze, also known as gauze, Ulex europaeus, is a common spiny evergreen shrub belonging to the pea family, Fabaceae. Native to Western Europe, it is characterized by its sharp spines and fragrant, bright yellow flowers that bloom for much of the year, making it a prominent feature of heathlands and coastal environments. David Ben-Gurion became Prime Minister of the Provisional Government of which newly created country on the 15th of May 1948? Israel. David Ben-Gurion, a prominent Zionist leader, became the first Prime Minister of the Provisional Government of the newly established State of Israel on May 14, 1948. He played a pivotal role in the Declaration of Independence and the early formation of the nation. Which American was the first Western photographer allowed into the Soviet Union, the first female photojournalist for Life magazine, the first female war correspondent and the first to be allowed to work in combat zones during World War II? Margaret Burke White. Margaret Burke White was an iconic American photographer and photojournalist known for her pioneering achievements. She was the first Western photographer allowed into the Soviet Union, the first female photojournalist for Life magazine, and the first woman allowed to work in combat zones during World War II, capturing pivotal historical moments. The volcano Mount Pinatubo is in which country? The Philippines. Mount Pinatubo is an active stratovolcano situated on the island of Luzon in the Philippines. It is widely known for its massive eruption in 1991, which was one of the largest and most destructive volcanic events of the 20th century, significantly impacting global climate. In English law, what is the foreshore? The area between the high and low watermarks of ordinary tides. In English law, the foreshore is defined as the strip of land situated between the mean high water mark and the mean low water mark of ordinary tides. This area is generally subject to Crown ownership, but public rights, particularly for navigation and fishing, are often recognized over it. The military action popularly known as the Charge of the Light Brigade took place in which war? Crimean War. The Charge of the Light Brigade was a catastrophic military engagement during the Battle of Balaclava, part of the Crimean War, 1853–1856. This ill-fated cavalry charge, resulting from a misinterpretation of orders, led to significant British casualties and was famously depicted in Alfred Lord Tennyson's poem. What is the electrical capacitance which 1 coulomb of electricity will charge to a capacity of 1 volt? Farad. The farad, F, is the SI unit of electrical capacitance, representing the ability of a system to store an electrical charge. Specifically, 1 farad is defined as the capacitance of a conductor that stores 1 coulomb of electric charge when subjected to a potential difference of 1 volt. Where are sculptures of Robert E. Lee, Stonewall Jackson and Jefferson Davis carved into the side of a mountain? Stone Mountain, Georgia. Stone Mountain in Georgia, USA, is home to the Stone Mountain carving, a massive bas-relief sculpture depicting 3 prominent Confederate figures, Jefferson Davis, Robert E. Lee, and Stonewall Jackson. This monument commemorates their roles in the American Civil War. Although now a term for an ordinary infantryman, in 1640 a fusilier was so called because his weapon was a fusil. What was a fusil? A light flintlock musket. A fusil was a type of light flintlock musket developed in the 17th century, representing an advancement over earlier matchlock firearms. This weapon was lighter and more manageable than traditional muskets, allowing for quicker reloading and improved maneuverability, especially for infantry units known as fusiliers. Where did the Greek god Helios return to sleep at night, residing with his brother Eos? In the sea. Helios, the sun god in Greek mythology, was believed to drive his chariot across the sky daily, returning to the sea in the west to rest. His sibling Eos was the goddess of dawn, and Selene, his sister, was the goddess of the moon. Lake Erie is connected to Lake Ontario by which river? Niagara. The Niagara River is a significant hydrological feature connecting Lake Erie and Lake Ontario, two of the 5 Great Lakes of North America. It flows northward for approximately 58 kilometers, forming part of the international border between the United States and Canada, and is famous for Niagara Falls. Who authored the plays Oedipus Rex, Antigone, and Electra? Sophocles. Sophocles was one of the 3 great ancient Greek tragedians whose plays have survived to the present day. His works, including Oedipus Rex, Antigone, and Electra, profoundly influenced the development of drama in Western literature, exploring themes of fate, free will, and justice. Which constellation is situated just below the feet of the Great Bear? Leo. The Great Bear, also known as Ursa Major, is a prominent constellation in the northern hemisphere. Below its feet, the stars at the end of the Big Dipper's handle, lies the constellation Leo, identifiable by its distinctive sickle-shaped asterism. What is the oldest commissioned naval vessel still afloat in the world? USS Constitution. The USS Constitution, launched in 1797, is a wooden-hulled, 3-masted heavy frigate of the United States Navy. Nicknamed Old Ironsides, during the War of 1812, it is the world's oldest commissioned naval vessel still afloat and is preserved as a museum ship in Boston, Massachusetts. What is the name for electromagnetic radiation with a wavelength shorter than, and immediately adjacent to, the visible spectrum? Ultraviolet. Ultraviolet, UV, radiation is a form of electromagnetic radiation with wavelengths ranging from 10 nanometers to 400 nanometers, shorter than visible light. It is naturally produced by the sun and can cause both beneficial effects, e.g., vitamin D production, and harmful effects, e.g., skin damage. Which prominent public green space in Paris is located at the foot of the Eiffel Tower? Champ de Mars. The Champ de Mars is a large public green space in Paris, France, situated between the Eiffel Tower to the northwest and the École Militaire to the southeast. It is a popular spot for tourists and locals, offering iconic views of the Eiffel Tower. Which acclaimed English writer authored notable works such as Goodbye to All That, I, Claudius, Claudius the God, and King Jesus? Robert Graves. Robert Graves, 1895–1985, was a prominent English poet, historical novelist, and critic, best known for his historical novels like I, Claudius, and Claudius the God, which explore Roman history. His memoir, Goodbye to All That, is a significant account of his experiences in World War I. In which country did native soldiers, known as sepoys, serve under British command? India. Sepoys were Indian soldiers recruited by the British East India Company and, later, the British Indian Army. They played a crucial role in maintaining British colonial rule, though their grievances ultimately led to the Indian Rebellion of 1857. Which opera, based on Oscar Wilde's play, caused considerable scandal at its premiere due to its controversial blend of biblical themes, eroticism, and violence, particularly the Dance of the Seven Whales, and the protagonist's necrophilic embrace? Salome, by Richard Strauss. Richard Strauss's opera, Salome, based on Oscar Wilde's play, premiered in 1905 and instantly became notorious for its shocking content. The opera's explicit depiction of Salome's desire for John the Baptist's head and her subsequent Dance of the Seven Veils were considered highly controversial for their time. Which country traditionally leads the Parade of Nations during the opening ceremony of the Olympic Games? Greece. Greece, as the historical birthplace of the Olympic Games, holds the unique privilege of always leading the Parade of Nations during the opening ceremony. This tradition honors the ancient origins of the Games in Olympia. In March 2009, which prominent Indian businessman garnered international attention for purchasing personal artifacts belonging to Mahatma Gandhi at an auction in New York? Vijay Mallya purchased items belonging to Mahatma Gandhi. In 2009, Indian businessman Vijay Mallya successfully bid for several personal items of Mahatma Gandhi, including his iconic spectacles, at an auction in New York. This act sparked public debate regarding the ownership and preservation of national heritage. What was the central accusation leveled against Chinese gymnasts He Kexun, Jiang Yuyong, Yang Yilam, and Deng Linlin during the 2008 Beijing Olympic Games? They were accused of being underage. During the 2008 Beijing Olympics, a controversy arose over the alleged underage status of several Chinese female gymnasts, including He Kexun. International Gymnastics Federation (FIG) rules require gymnasts to be at least 16 in the Olympic year. Critics claim some Chinese athletes were younger. Where is the Klondike River located? Yukon Territory, Canada. The Klondike River is a tributary of the Yukon River in Yukon, Canada, famously associated with the Klondike Gold Rush, 1896 to 1899. This significant historical event drew an estimated 100,000 prospectors to the region in search of gold. What is the specific name for a hydrometer used to determine the alcoholic strength of liquids? Proof and trial hydrometer. A proof and trial hydrometer is a specialized instrument used to measure the specific gravity of alcohol solutions, which directly correlates to their alcoholic strength. This measurement is crucial in industries like brewing and distilling for quality control and regulatory compliance. In the Christian calendar, what is the week preceding Easter, traditionally observed as a period of abstinence from certain foods and activities? Holy Week. Holy Week marks the final week of Lent, commencing on Palm Sunday and culminating on Holy Saturday, immediately preceding Easter Sunday. It commemorates the Passion of Christ, including his entry into Jerusalem, the Last Supper, crucifixion, and burial. Who was the Austrian pioneer of psychoanalysis who died in London in 1939, having fled Nazi persecution? Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud was an Austrian neurologist and the founder of psychoanalysis, a clinical method for treating psychopathology through dialogue. He is renowned for his theories on the unconscious mind and dream analysis, and was forced to flee Vienna due to Nazi persecution in 1938. What instrument is utilized for measuring relative humidity? Hygrometer. A hygrometer is an instrument used to measure the amount of water vapor in the air, soil, or confined spaces. This measurement, known as humidity, is critical in meteorology, agriculture, and various industrial applications to assess environmental conditions. Who accomplished the first non-stop transatlantic flight by air on June 14, 1919, in a Vickers Vimy, from St. John's, Newfoundland, to Clifton, Ireland? Captain John Alcock and Lieutenant Arthur Brown. Captain John Alcock and Lieutenant Arthur Brown made history with the first non-stop transatlantic flight in 1919, flying a modified Vickers Vimy bomber. Their perilous journey covered approximately 3,040 kilometers in just over 16 hours, marking a significant milestone in aviation history. Which musical instrument, possessing a range of approximately 3 octaves, has its strings tuned to C below middle C, G, D, and A, from lowest to highest? Viola. The viola is a string instrument, larger than a violin but smaller than a cello, and is known for its rich, mellow tone. It plays a crucial role in orchestral and chamber music, typically providing the middle harmonies. What term did ethnologists historically use to describe people inhabiting much of North Africa, derived from the name of one of Noah's sons, considered their legendary ancestor? Hamites. The term, Hamites, was historically used in ethnology to describe certain populations in North Africa and the Horn of Africa, based on the biblical figure Ham. This classification is now largely considered outdated and has been superseded by more nuanced and scientifically rigorous anthropological and genetic studies. What was the name of the river, located approximately 200 meters north of Rome, where Roman generals traditionally disbanded their armies upon returning from campaigns, to maintain civic order or expand the Roman Empire? Rubicon. The Rubicon was a shallow river in northeastern Italy, famous for Julius Caesar's crossing in 49 BC, defying the Senate's order not to bring his army into Italy. The phrase, crossing the Rubicon, has since become an idiom for passing a point of no return, signifying a momentous and irreversible decision. The Zapruder film is famous for being a color film of which event? Assassination of John F. Kennedy. The Zapruder film is a silent 8mm color film capturing the assassination of U.S. President John F. Kennedy on November 22, 1963, in Dallas, Texas. It is considered one of the most studied pieces of film in history and a crucial piece of evidence in investigations into the assassination. What word best describes a triangle where one angle is greater than 90 degrees? Obtuse. In geometry, a triangle with one angle greater than 90 degrees is classified as an obtuse triangle. The sum of the angles in any triangle always equals 180 degrees. Which Venezuelan river has the same name as a womble? Orinoco. The Orinoco River is one of South America's longest rivers, flowing primarily through Venezuela and Colombia. It is a major transportation artery and vital for the region's ecology and economy, emptying into the Atlantic Ocean. Who invented a system of cartography whereby lines of latitude and longitude are drawn at right angles? Gerardus Mercator. Gerardus Mercator, a Flemish geographer and cartographer, is renowned for creating the Mercator projection in 1569. This revolutionary map projection displays lines of latitude and longitude at right angles, making it particularly useful for oceanic navigation due to its accurate representation of true compass bearings. The United Nations Charter was signed by 50 nations in San Francisco on which day? The 26th of June 1945. The United Nations Charter, the foundational treaty of the United Nations, was signed by 50 nations on June 26, 1945, in San Francisco. It outlines the purposes, principles, and organizational structure of the UN, aiming to maintain international peace and security, promote human rights, and foster international cooperation. What was the final engineering project completed by Isambard Kingdom Brunel? The Great Eastern Steamship. Isambard Kingdom Brunel, a prominent British engineer of the Industrial Revolution, completed many ambitious projects. The SS Great Eastern, a massive iron sailing steamship launched in 1858, was his last major undertaking, designed for transatlantic travel and showcasing pioneering shipbuilding techniques. In which country was the Althing, a legislative and judiciary parliament, established in 930 AD? Iceland. The Althing of Iceland, founded in 930 AD, is one of the oldest existing parliamentary institutions in the world. It served as a general assembly of the Icelandic Commonwealth, where chieftains would meet annually to establish laws and settle disputes, playing a crucial role in the early governance of Iceland. Which artificial international language, invented by Dr. L. Zamenhof, was published in 1887? Esperanto. Esperanto is the most widely spoken constructed international auxiliary language. Created by Ludwig Lechzer Zamenhof and first published in 1887, its primary aim was to foster communication and understanding across different linguistic communities worldwide, promoting peace and international cooperation. To which continent are gibbons native? Asia. Gibbons are arboreal apes belonging to the family Hylobatidae, found exclusively in tropical and subtropical rainforests across Asia. Their natural habitat spans from northeast India to Indonesia and southern China, where they play an important ecological role as seed dispersers. What mechanical device enables the wheels of a vehicle to rotate at different speeds when turning? A differential. A differential is a gear train that provides power to two output shafts, allowing them to rotate at different speeds. In vehicles, this mechanism is crucial for smooth cornering, as the inner wheel travels a shorter distance than the outer wheel and thus needs to rotate more slowly. Which Greek physician, born around 460 BC into a family of priests and doctors, primarily lived on Kos and Cnidus and is widely regarded as the father of modern medicine? Hippocrates. Hippocrates, an ancient Greek physician, is considered one of the most outstanding figures in the history of medicine. He is credited with establishing medicine as a distinct discipline, separating it from religious superstition, and developing the Hippocratic Oath, which emphasizes ethical practices in healthcare. Where is the headquarters of the International Red Cross? Geneva. The International Red Cross and Red Crescent movement is a global humanitarian network comprising the Cross, IFRC, and national societies. Its headquarters are in Geneva, Switzerland, reflecting its foundational role in international humanitarian law and aid. When Lieutenant Thomas E. Selfridge became the first death in a crash of a powered airplane in 1908, who was the pilot? Orville Wright. Lieutenant Thomas E. Selfridge was the first person to die in a powered airplane crash on September 17, 1908, while flying as a passenger with Orville Wright. This tragic event occurred during demonstration flights at Fort Myer, Virginia, highlighting the early dangers of aviation. The natural habitat of penguins is centered where? Antarctica. While penguins are found in various southern hemisphere regions, their natural habitat is predominantly centered around Antarctica and its surrounding subantarctic islands. These cold, marine environments provide abundant food sources and suitable breeding grounds for most penguin species. A campanile is built to contain what? Bells. A campanile is a bell tower, typically freestanding, that often accompanies a church or civic building. Originating in Italy, these structures are specifically designed to house bells, which are used for signaling, timekeeping, and religious calls. L. Ron Hubbard is known as the founder of what movement? Scientology. L. Ron Hubbard was an American author and the founder of Scientology, a body of beliefs and practices developed by him from 1952. Originally a science fiction writer, Hubbard established Dianetics and later Scientology as a religion, which has since gained international recognition. What is the highest national capital city? Quito, Ecuador. Quito, the capital of Ecuador, is often cited as the highest official capital city in the world, situated at an elevation of approximately 2,850 meters, 9,350 feet, above sea level. Its high-altitude location in the Andes Mountains significantly influences its climate and geography. What is Canis Major also known as? The Dog Star. Canis Major is a prominent constellation in the southern celestial hemisphere, named for its resemblance to a large dog. Its brightest star, Sirius, is also known as the Dog Star, being the brightest star in the night sky. Which book by Sir Thomas More, describing an ideal society with community ownership, was written in Latin in 1516 and translated into English in 1551? Utopia. Sir Thomas More's Utopia is a foundational work in political philosophy and literature, published in Latin in 1516. It describes a fictional island society with political, religious, and social customs that are idealistic, offering a critique of European society of his time. Near what French town did Marie Bernadette Soubirous reportedly see visions of the Virgin Mary in 1858? Lourdes. Lourdes, a town in the French Pyrenees, became a significant site of pilgrimage after Bernadette Soubirous reported seeing visions of the Virgin Mary there in 1858. The sanctuary of Our Lady of Lourdes is now one of the world's most visited Catholic shrines, attracting millions annually. Which river, formed by the union of the Murad Nehri and the Karusu, flows for 2,781 kilometers, 1,728 miles, through Turkey and Syria into Iraq, where it joins the Tigris to form the Shat el Arab? Euphrates. The Euphrates River is one of the most historically significant rivers in Western Asia, originating in Turkey and flowing through Syria and Iraq. It merges with the Tigris River to form the Shat al Arab, playing a crucial role in the region's ancient civilizations and modern geopolitics. In what year was the Union Jack, the British flag, first used in its present form? 1801. The Union Jack, the national flag of the United Kingdom, attained its present form in 1801. This design combined the flags of England, St. George's Cross, Scotland, St. Andrew's Cross, and Ireland, St. Patrick's Cross, following the Act of Union 1800, which united Great Britain and Ireland. Which 17th century English poet is famous for Paradise Lost, Paradise Regained, and Samson Agonists? John Milton. John Milton was a prominent 17th century English poet and intellectual, best known for his epic poem, Paradise Lost. His works, including Paradise Regained and Samson Agonists, explore themes of theology, politics, and philosophy, solidifying his status as one of the greatest poets in the English language. What is Spartacus famous for doing? Leading a slave rebellion. Spartacus was a Thracian gladiator who led a major slave uprising against the Roman Republic in the 1st century BCE. This rebellion, known as the Third Servile War, severely challenged Roman authority for several years before its eventual suppression. Gruyere is a town in which country? Switzerland. Gruyere is a picturesque medieval town in the canton of Fribourg, Switzerland. It is renowned globally for the delicious Gruyere cheese, a hard yellow cheese traditionally made from cow's milk. What does the iconic peace symbol, an inverted Y, within a circle, represent? A combination of the semaphore letters N and D, standing for nuclear disarmament. The peace symbol, designed by Gerald Holtom in 1958, was originally created for the British Campaign for Nuclear Disarmament, CND. Its design combines the semaphore signals for N, nuclear, and D, disarmament, making it a powerful and widely recognized emblem against nuclear weapons and for peace. Who was the commander of the Luftwaffe during World War II and died by taking poison after being condemned to death at the Nuremberg trials in 1946? Hermann Wilhelm Göring. Hermann Göring was a leading figure in the Nazi Party and commander-in-chief of the Luftwaffe, German Air Force, during World War II. He was convicted of war crimes and crimes against humanity at the Nuremberg trials, committing suicide by cyanide poisoning just hours before his scheduled execution. What is the name for an alcoholic preparation of opium widely used in the 18th and 19th centuries to treat a number of different complaints? Laudanum. Laudanum is an alcoholic tincture of opium, historically used as a widespread medicinal agent in the 18th and 19th centuries. It was prescribed for various ailments, including pain and insomnia, but its addictive properties led to its decline in medical use with the advent of modern pharmaceuticals. Which English composer, whose work was influenced by folk song and the music of the 16th century, wrote London Symphony, Pilgrim's Progress, and Sinfonia Antarctica? Ralph Vaughan Williams. Ralph Vaughan Williams was a prominent English composer known for incorporating English folk tunes and Tudor-era music into his works. His extensive oeuvre includes 9 symphonies, operas, and choral pieces, with A London Symphony and Sinfonia Antarctica being among his most celebrated orchestral compositions. What Christian festival is observed on the 7th Sunday after Easter? Whitsunday. Whitsunday, also known as Pentecost, is a significant Christian festival celebrated on the 7th Sunday after Easter. It commemorates the descent of the Holy Spirit upon the apostles and other followers of Jesus Christ, marking the birth of the Christian Church. In the southern USA, what is the name for an embankment that allows the water to flow at a higher level than the surrounding land? Levee. A levee is an artificial embankment constructed typically along the bank of a river or other body of water to prevent flooding of the adjacent land. In the southern USA, particularly along the Mississippi River, levees are crucial civil engineering structures for flood control and protecting communities from high water levels. Which flowering plant in the pea family, cultivated as feed for cattle, horses, sheep, and goats, is known in the UK, Australia and New Zealand as lucerne grass in South Asia and as Kuthirai masal in Tamil? Alfalfa. Alfalfa, Medicago sativa, is a leguminous flowering plant in the pea family, widely cultivated as forage for livestock. It is known for its high nutritional value and nitrogen-fixing properties, making it an essential crop in sustainable agriculture globally. In architecture, what is the name for an ornamental vertical groove in a column? Flute. A flute, in architecture refers to a shallow, concave groove running vertically on the shaft of a column or pilaster. This decorative feature is characteristic of classical orders, such as Doric, Ionic, and Corinthian, adding elegance and a sense of verticality to structures. Zydeco is a type of music from which country? USA. Zydeco is a music genre that evolved in southwest Louisiana by French Creole speakers. It blends blues, rhythm and blues, and indigenous music of the Louisiana Creoles and Native Americans, often featuring accordion and frottoir, washboard. Who was the last king of Egypt? Fuad II. Fuad II was the last king of Egypt and Sudan, reigning for less than a year between July 1952 and June 1953. He was an infant at the time of his nominal rule, which ended with the declaration of the Egyptian Republic. Who served in the Crimean War 1854-56, was responsible for suppressing the Taiping Rebellion in China in 1860, was governor of the Sudan 1877-79, and died there? General Charles Gordon. General Charles Gordon, often known as Gordon of Khartoum, was a British Army officer and administrator. He played a pivotal role in several 19th-century conflicts and colonial administrations, most notably in the Crimean War, the suppression of the Taiping Rebellion in China, and as Governor-General of Sudan, where he ultimately died during the siege of Khartoum. Which city would you go to see Grant's tomb, a memorial to Ulysses S. Grant, once President of the USA? New York. Grant's tomb, officially known as the General Grant National Memorial, is the final resting place of Ulysses S. Grant, the 18th President of the United States, and his wife, Julia Dent Grant. Located in Manhattan, New York City, it is the largest mausoleum in North America and a significant historical landmark. The foundations for which science were laid by Adam Smith in 1776 and followed up by people such as John Stuart Mill and David Ricardo. Economics. Adam Smith is widely regarded as the father of modern economics for his seminal work, The Wealth of Nations, 1776, which laid the groundwork for classical economics. His ideas on free markets, division of labor, and the invisible hand were further developed by influential economists like John Stuart Mill and David Ricardo, shaping the discipline. Where was the war that began in 1998, sometimes referred to as the African World War, which has been called the world's deadliest conflict since World War II with 5.4 million people killed? Congo. The Second Congo War, 1998 to 2003, involved multiple African nations and is often termed the African World War. It remains one of the deadliest conflicts since World War II, leading to an estimated 5.4 million deaths, primarily from disease and starvation. King George VI had two daughters, Elizabeth Alexandra Mary and which other? Margaret Rose. King George VI, who reigned from 1936 to 1952, was the father of Queen Elizabeth II. His two daughters were Elizabeth Alexandra Mary, later Queen Elizabeth II, and Princess Margaret, Countess of Snowdon. Canada is divided into how many provinces and how many territories? 10 provinces and 3 territories. Canada is a federal parliamentary democracy and a constitutional monarchy. Its administrative geography is composed of 10 provinces and 3 territories, each possessing distinct governance structures and levels of autonomy. The main ingredients of gunpowder are saltpeter, charcoal and what else? Sulfur. Gunpowder, also known as black powder, is the earliest known chemical explosive. Its primary components are saltpeter, potassium nitrate, charcoal, carbon, and sulfur, which act as an oxidizer, fuel, and sensitizer respectively. Which English novelist wrote Decline and Fall, Brideshead Revisited, and Officers and Gentlemen? Evelyn Waugh. Evelyn Waugh was a prominent English novelist celebrated for his satirical works and incisive wit. His notable novels, including Decline and Fall, Brideshead Revisited, and Officers and Gentlemen, offer critical explorations of aristocracy, social class, and the English experience. In 1985, the Greenpeace protest ship, Rainbow Warrior, was bombed and sunk by French agents in which harbour? Auckland, New Zealand. The bombing of the Rainbow Warrior was a significant act of state terrorism by the French Foreign Intelligence Service, DGSE, against Greenpeace in 1985. The incident, intended to prevent protests against nuclear testing, led to a major international scandal and strained diplomatic relations between France and New Zealand. What are the dying words of the Shakespearean character Hamlet? The rest is silence. These iconic words conclude Hamlet's final monologue, reflecting resignation and acceptance of death after the tragic events of the play. They encapsulate the profound themes of mortality and the unknown that permeate Shakespeare's work. In music, which word means lively or animated? Vivace. Vivace is an Italian musical term used as a tempo marking, typically indicating a fast and lively pace. It is one of many standard tempo indications that guide musicians on the speed and character of a piece. If a day on Venus is approximately 68 hours long, about how long is its year? 225 days. Venus has a unique rotational period, with a single rotation taking longer than its orbital period around the Sun. Specifically, its sidereal rotation period is about 243 Earth days, making its solar day, sunrise to sunrise, roughly 116 Earth days or 2,800 hours long, while its orbital period is 225 Earth days. Where are the Prince Edward Islands, comprising Marion Island and Prince Edward Island, which are politically part of South Africa? Indian Ocean. The Prince Edward Islands are two small subantarctic islands located in the southern Indian Ocean, approximately 1,770 kilometers southeast of South Africa. They are an important nature reserve, hosting a significant population of seabirds and seals. By what name is the writer Alfred Maximovich Peshkov better known? Maxim Gorky. Maxim Gorky was a prominent Russian and Soviet writer, a founder of the socialist realism literary method. He is best known for his plays, such as The Lower Depths, and autobiographical works, contributing significantly to Russian literature and political thought. Which painter, born in Antwerp, was invited by King Charles I to be the court painter and was knighted in 1632? Anthony van Dyck. Anthony van Dyck was a prominent Flemish Baroque artist who became the leading court painter in England under King Charles I. His portraits, particularly of the king and his family, were highly influential and defined the style of English portraiture for generations. The Kodiak bear is native to which continent? North America. The Kodiak bear, Ursus arctos middendorfi, is a subspecies of brown bear native to the Kodiak archipelago and other islands off the coast of southern Alaska, North America. It is one of the largest terrestrial carnivores in the world. What defense treaty was signed by Great Britain, the USA, France, Siam, Australia, New Zealand, Pakistan and the Philippines in 1954? SEATO. The Southeast Asia Treaty Organization, SEATO, was an international organization for collective defense in Southeast Asia, established by the Manila Pact in September 1954. Its primary objective was to prevent the spread of communism in the region. Which canal joins the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans? Panama. The Panama Canal is an artificial 82 kilometers waterway in Panama that connects the Atlantic Ocean with the Pacific Ocean. It serves as a crucial maritime shortcut, significantly reducing travel time for ships by eliminating the long voyage around the southern tip of South America. What can be done to water to make it freeze at a lower temperature than normal? Add impurities. Adding impurities, solutes, to water lowers its freezing point, a phenomenon known as freezing point depression. This colligative property means the solvent requires a lower temperature to freeze when a solute is present, as the solute particles interfere with the formation of the crystal lattice. After a plague in 1633, in which German town did the villagers vow to present a living representation of Christ's Passion every 10th year? Oberammergau. The Oberammergau Passion Play is a world-renowned dramatic presentation depicting the Passion of Christ. Originating from a vow made by villagers in 1633 to God to spare them from the Black Death, the play has been performed every 10 years since 1680. Which strong man appears in the Bible in the book of Judges? Samson. Samson is a legendary figure in the book of Judges in the Hebrew Bible, renowned for his immense physical strength. His story details his consecrated Nazirite vow, his battles against the Philistines, and his eventual downfall due to betrayal by Delilah. What is the term for a vertical division between the panes of a window or screen? Mullion. A mullion is a vertical element that forms a division between units of a window, door, or screen, or is used decoratively. It provides structural support to the arch or lintel above the window opening and is a common feature in traditional architecture. Which organization, founded by Lord Baden-Powell and his sister Agnes, was incorporated by Royal Charter in 1915? Girl Guides. The Girl Guides is a worldwide movement for girls and young women, founded in 1910 by Robert Baden-Powell and his sister Agnes Baden-Powell. Its aim is to empower girls and help them develop their full potential through outdoor activities, community service, and skill building. The organization received its Royal Charter in 1915. Who was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1979? Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa, an Albanian Indian Roman Catholic nun, was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1979 for her humanitarian work with the poor and sick in Kolkata, India. She founded the Missionaries of Charity, which has grown to minister to the poor in many countries. Which celebrated sculptor is known for iconic works such as The Bronze Age, 1877, The Burghers of Calais, 1889, and The Kiss, 1898, and is widely recognized in England for The Thinker, Le Penseur? Auguste Rodin. Auguste Rodin, 1840–1917, was a prominent French sculptor whose work significantly influenced modern sculpture. He is renowned for his ability to convey emotion and realism, with The Thinker being one of his most universally recognized masterpieces, symbolizing profound contemplation. By what other common name is the sugar, dextrose, known? Glucose. Dextrose is a simple sugar that is chemically identical to glucose, derived from corn. It is commonly used in food products as a sweetener and as a source of energy in medical applications, such as intravenous fluids. Which English monarch famously signed the Magna Carta at Runnymede, Surrey, England, in the year 1215? King John. King John of England signed the Magna Carta at Runnymede on June 15, 1215. This historic document limited the power of the monarch and established fundamental rights for his subjects, becoming a cornerstone of constitutional law in the English-speaking world. What was the Roman name for the island of Ireland? Hibernia. The Romans referred to the island of Ireland as Hibernia. Although they never fully conquered it, they had knowledge of its existence and maintained some trade and interaction with its inhabitants. In the human body, adductors and abductors are types of what? Muscle. Adductors are muscles that move a limb towards the midline of the body, while abductors move it away. Both are crucial for limb movement and are key concepts in human anatomy and physiology. Which lake in Canada has the same name as a constellation? Great Bear. Great Bear Lake is the largest lake entirely within Canada and the fourth largest in North America. Its name is derived from the Venezuelan language and coincidentally matches the prominent Ursa Major constellation. In Greek legend, who, the last king of Troy, was the father of Hector and Paris? Priam. Priam was the legendary last king of Troy during the Trojan War, prominently featured in Homer's Iliad. He was known for his numerous offspring, including the heroes Hector and Paris, whose actions were central to the conflict. What term is applied to the situation when a woman has more than one husband? Polyandry. Polyandry is a specific form of polygamy where one woman is married to multiple men simultaneously. This socio-cultural practice is observed in a few societies globally, often linked to resource management or demographic patterns. Which orange seller became an actress, then mistress of King Charles II, died in 1687 aged 37, and was buried at St. Martin-in-the-Fields? Nell Gwyn. Nell Gwyn was a prominent English actress and longtime mistress of King Charles II, symbolizing the vivacity and social changes of the Restoration period. Her life is a notable example of rising from humble origins to influence within the royal court. What was the name of the first of the space shuttles that was used only for testing purposes? Enterprise. The Space Shuttle Enterprise, O-101, was the first orbiter constructed for NASA's Space Shuttle program. It was exclusively used for atmospheric flight and ground vibration testing, providing vital data without being designed for actual spaceflight. What name was given to groups of runaway slaves in Jamaica and Guyana in the 17th and 18th centuries? Maroons. Maroons were communities of formerly enslaved Africans and their descendants who escaped from plantations and formed independent settlements, particularly in the Caribbean and the Americas. Their struggle for freedom and establishment of sovereign territories represent a significant chapter in resistance against slavery. Where are the British Houses of Parliament? Westminster. The British Houses of Parliament, officially known as the Palace of Westminster, are located in the city of Westminster, London. This iconic landmark serves as the centre of parliamentary democracy for the United Kingdom. Which group of over 7,000 islands has main islands called Luzon, Mindanao, Samar, Negros, Palawan, Panay, Mindoro, Leyte, Cebu, Bohol and Masbate? Philippines. The Philippines is an archipelagic nation in Southeast Asia, comprising over 7,000 islands. Luzon, Mindanao, and Visayas are its three main island groups, with cities like Manila, Luzon, and Davao, Mindanao, being major centers. This geographical feature significantly influences its culture, economy, and biodiversity. Where did the Mayflower, carrying the Pilgrim Fathers, early settlers to Massachusetts, America, sail from in 1620? Plymouth. The Mayflower set sail from Plymouth, England, in September 1620, carrying English Puritans known as Pilgrim Fathers. They established the Plymouth colony in Massachusetts, marking a significant event in early American colonial history and the foundation of one of the first permanent English settlements in North America. Where is the Ross Sea? Antarctic Ocean. The Ross Sea is a deep bay in the Southern Ocean, located off the coast of Antarctica, between Victoria Land and Mary Bird Land. It is considered one of the most pristine marine ecosystems on Earth, often referred to as the last ocean, due to its rich biodiversity and relatively untouched environment. What is the name of the major Greek stadium in Athens that was the venue for the opening and closing ceremonies, athletics events and the football, soccer, final at the 2004 Summer Olympics? The Olympic Stadium. The Olympic Stadium of Athens, officially known as the Spyros Louis Olympic Stadium, served as the central venue for the 2004 Summer Olympics. It hosted the opening and closing ceremonies, as well as the athletics events and the football final, making it a significant site in modern Olympic history and Greek infrastructure. The Night of the Long Knives is associated with which political figure? Adolf Hitler. The Night of the Long Knives, or Operation Hummingbird, was a purge that took place in Nazi Germany from June 30 to July 2, 1934. Adolf Hitler, along with Heinrich Himmler and Hermann Göring, orchestrated the elimination of political rivals within the Nazi Party and conservative opponents, solidifying his absolute power. Which painters aim to convey a state of mind rather than create a realistic representation, such as El Greco, Boss, Goya, Grunewald and Munch? Expressionist. Expressionism is a modernist movement, initially in poetry and painting, originating in Germany at the beginning of the 20th century. Its central aim is to express the artist's inner emotion or state of mind rather than to represent objective reality, often characterized by distorted figures, strong colors, and emotional intensity. Artists like El Greco, Goya, and Munch are often associated with this artistic philosophy. Which country has the longest straight stretch of railway line? Australia. The Trans-Australian Railway features the longest straight stretch of railway line in the world, located on the Nullarbor Plain. This impressive 478-kilometer section of track runs without a single curve, making it a unique engineering marvel and a key part of Australia's continental railway network. The Soviet Union did not participate in the Olympics until 1952 and organized an alternative international sports event from 1928. What were these games called? Spartakiads. The Spartakiads were large-scale international multi-sport events organized by the Soviet Union and other communist countries from 1928 onwards. These games served as an ideological alternative to the Olympic Games, embodying the communist principles of solidarity among workers and athletes, before the USSR's official entry into the Olympics. In England, the monarch has the power of veto over any proposed legislation from Parliament by withholding royal assent. Who last used this power? Queen Anne in 1708. In the British constitutional monarchy, the monarch retains the theoretical power to refuse royal assent to a parliamentary bill, effectively vetoing it. Queen Anne was the last sovereign to exercise this prerogative in 1708, by withholding assent from the Scottish Militia Bill. Since then, royal assent has become a constitutional formality, reflecting the shift of power to the elected parliament. What name is given to the headquarters of the USA's Department of Defense? The Pentagon. The Pentagon is the headquarters of the United States Department of Defense, located in Arlington, Virginia. Renowned for its distinctive five-sided shape, it is one of the world's largest office buildings by floor area. The building serves as the central command and administrative hub for U.S. military operations and defense policy. What position did Boris Johnson hold from the 4th of May 2008? Mayor of London. Boris Johnson served as the Mayor of London for 2 terms, from May 4, 2008, to May 9, 2016. In this significant political role, he was responsible for the strategic governance of the capital, overseeing areas such as transport, policing, and economic development. His tenure as mayor played a crucial part in his later political career. What is the name for the change of direction when a ray of light passes from one medium, e.g., water, to another, e.g., air? Refraction. Refraction is the phenomenon where a wave, such as light, changes its direction as it passes from one medium to another. This change occurs due to the difference in the speed of light in the different media, causing the light ray to bend. Refraction is a fundamental principle in optics, explaining how lenses and prisms work, and how we perceive objects through water or glass. Who is associated with the Jaguar make of car? William Lyon. Sir William Lyon was the co-founder of the Swallow Sidecar Company, which evolved into Jaguar cars. He was instrumental in establishing Jaguar's reputation for producing high-performance luxury vehicles with distinctive design. His vision and leadership was central to making Jaguar a globally recognized British automotive brand. Which islands in the South Pacific between New Guinea and South America were annexed by France in 1842? Marquesas. The Marquesas Islands are a volcanic archipelago located in French Polynesia, in the South Pacific Ocean. These islands were officially annexed by France in 1842, becoming a significant part of French colonial expansion in the Pacific region. The Marquesas are historically and culturally rich, known for their unique Polynesian heritage and dramatic landscapes. In the 19th century, Edward Gibbon Wakefield set up which organization to colonize New Zealand? The New Zealand Company. Edward Gibbon Wakefield was a key figure in the systematic colonization of New Zealand during the 19th century. The New Zealand Company played a significant role in facilitating British settlement, often controversially displacing Maori populations. What was the name for a form of stencil duplicator used for making numerous copies of a document? Mimeograph. A mimeograph is an old form of stencil duplicator, popular before the advent of photocopiers. It works by forcing ink through a stencil to reproduce multiple copies of a document, a common office tool in its era. Which inert gas with a density 2.8 that of air was discovered by Ramsay and Travers in 1895? Krypton. Krypton is a noble gas discovered by William Ramsay and Maurice Travers in 1895 through the fractional distillation of liquid air. It is known for its inertness and is used in certain types of electric lights and is a filling gas in energy-efficient windows. What building, built between 1754 and 1790 as a church to Saint Genevieve, was set aside as a mausoleum for famous Frenchmen in 1792? The Pantheon. The Pantheon in Paris, originally designed as a church, was repurposed as a secular mausoleum for eminent French citizens during the French Revolution. It serves as a national monument, housing the remains of figures like Voltaire, Rousseau, and Marie Curie. Who was shot at with poisoned bullets by Fanny Kaplan in August 1918? Vladimir Ilyich Lenin. Vladimir Ilyich Lenin, the leader of the Bolshevik Revolution and the first head of Soviet Russia, was shot and severely wounded in an assassination attempt by Fanny Kaplan in August 1918. This event is considered a catalyst for the intensification of the Red Terror campaign. The last words of which book of the Bible are, "All is vanity"? Ecclesiastes. The book of Ecclesiastes is a wisdom book in the Hebrew Bible, traditionally attributed to King Solomon. Its central theme, famously expressed as, "vanity of vanities, all is vanity," reflects on the futility and transience of human endeavors. Which country has the international dialing prefix 44? United Kingdom. The international dialing code +44 is assigned to the United Kingdom, encompassing England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. This prefix is essential for making international phone calls to any landline or mobile number within the UK. In May 2009, flooding killed at least 30 people and caused more than 20,000 people to leave their homes in which country? Brazil. Brazil frequently experiences severe flooding, particularly in its southern and southeastern regions, due to heavy rainfall and the country's diverse topography. The May 2009 floods were a significant natural disaster, highlighting the vulnerability of densely populated areas to extreme weather events. When was English law changed to enable a child to be made legitimate by the later marriage of its parents? 1926. The Legitimacy Act 1926 in England and Wales allowed for the legitimation of children born out of wedlock upon the subsequent marriage of their biological parents. This landmark legislation significantly altered family law, granting such children the same rights as those born within marriage, including inheritance. What was the name of the group formed in London in February 1944 to plan the invasion of Europe under General Dwight D. Eisenhower? SHAEF. SHA stands for Supreme Headquarters Allied Expeditionary Force, established in London in February 1944. Under the command of General Dwight D. Eisenhower, SHAEF was responsible for planning and executing Operation Overlord, the Allied invasion of Normandy, which began on June 6, 1944. The Lesser Rosary, a string of beads used by Roman Catholics as an aid to memory during devotional exercises, has 55 beads. How many beads are there in the Greater Rosary? 165. The Rosary is a form of prayer used particularly in the Catholic Church, involving the recitation of prayers while meditating on the mysteries of the life of Jesus and Mary. A standard, or 5-decade, rosary typically consists of 59 beads. The Greater Rosary, or the full traditional rosary, encompasses all 15 traditional mysteries and would consist of 3 such 5-decade rosaries, totaling approximately 165 beads. What is the popular name for Sirius, which is 9 light-years from Earth? The dog star. Sirius, also known as Alpha Canis Majoris, is the brightest star in the night sky and is approximately 8.6 light-years from Earth. It is famously called the dog star because it is the main star of the constellation Canis Major, Greater Dog, which is associated with one of Orion's hunting dogs. Who is the New Zealand-born physicist whose discoveries include most of the great advances in physics between 1899 and 1930? Ernest Rutherford. Ernest Rutherford, a Nobel laureate in chemistry, is widely regarded as the father of nuclear physics. His groundbreaking work included the discovery of the atomic nucleus, the proton, and the concept of radioactive half-life, exemplified by the famous gold foil experiment. What is the name of the temple built to Pallas Athene around 480 BC, from which marble friezes and statues were removed by Lord Elgin in 1812? Parthenon. The Parthenon is an ancient temple on the Athenian Acropolis, dedicated to the goddess Athena, built in the 5th century BC. It is a defining monument of classical Greek architecture. The removal of its sculptures by Lord Elgin in the early 19th century, known as the Elgin marbles, remains a subject of international debate. Which 17th century philosopher, mathematician, scientist, and writer has been called the father of modern philosophy, known for works such as Passions of the Soul, Principles of Philosophy, Discourse on the Method, and Meditations on First Philosophy? René Descartes. René Descartes, a prominent 17th-century French philosopher, mathematician, and scientist, is often called the father of modern philosophy. His methodological doubt and famous dictum, cogito, ergo sum, I think, therefore I am, laid the foundation for rationalism and profoundly influenced Western thought. His works, including Discourse on the Method and Meditations on First Philosophy, are seminal texts in philosophy. In what is now Iran between 1951 and 1954, what led to the Shah fleeing the country, the Prime Minister attempting to dissolve Parliament, crude oil being imported from Kuwait, and a breakdown of diplomatic relations with Britain and the USA? Persian oil dispute. The Persian oil dispute, centered on the nationalization of the Anglo-Iranian Oil Company, AIOC, by Iranian Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh in 1951, led to a major international crisis. Britain initiated an embargo on Iranian oil, crippling the economy and leading to political instability. The crisis culminated in the 1953 Iranian coup d'etat, which restored the Shah's power and established new oil agreements. The theaters for which war included Odessa, Yevpatoria, Sevastopol, Balaklava, Inkerman, and Kinburn. Crimean War. The Crimean War, 1853–1856, was fought between the Russian Empire and an alliance of France, Britain, the Ottoman Empire, and Sardinia. Key strategic locations and battlegrounds, often referred to as theaters of war, included Sevastopol and Balaklava, which were central to understanding the conflict's geography and major engagements. What is the largest dam structure in the USA? Grand Coulee Dam. The Grand Coulee Dam is a massive hydroelectric gravity dam on the Columbia River in Washington, United States. It is the largest electric power producing facility in the United States and one of the largest concrete structures globally, playing a crucial role in irrigation and power generation. Under what name did Helen Potter Mitchell perform opera? Dame Nellie Melba. Dame Nellie Melba was an acclaimed Australian operatic soprano who became one of the most famous singers of the late Victorian era and early 20th century. Her stage name, Nellie Melba, became synonymous with operatic excellence, and her legacy is also celebrated in culinary terms like peach Melba and Melba toast. What is the name for the inherent property of matter to retain its state of rest or uniform motion in a straight line unless acted upon by external forces? Inertia. Inertia is a fundamental concept in physics, described by Newton's first law of motion. It refers to an object's resistance to any change in its state of motion, meaning it will either remain at rest or continue in uniform motion unless an external force acts upon it. Who was the Teutonic legendary hero who slew Fafnir the dragon? Siegfried. Siegfried is a legendary hero from Germanic heroic literature, most notably appearing in the Volsunga saga and the Nibelungenlied. His most famous feat involves slaying the dragon Fafnir, a pivotal event in these epic narratives that grants him immense power and wisdom. In Great Britain, painted strips on the road to show where pedestrians should cross is named after which animal? Zebra. In the United Kingdom and many other countries, pedestrian crossing marked with black and white stripes are known as zebra crossing. This distinctive pattern, resembling the stripes of a zebra, is designed to enhance visibility for both pedestrians and motorists, making it easier for drivers to spot the crossing and yield to pedestrians. Who was the proprietor of New York World, who made a bequest to award 12 prizes annually to American authors and composers? Joseph Pulitzer. Joseph Pulitzer was a Hungarian-American newspaper publisher who made a bequest in his will to establish the Pulitzer Prizes. These prestigious awards are given annually for excellence in journalism, literature, and music, among other categories, recognizing outstanding achievements in American culture. What Indian word was used by the Portuguese for army servants and became applied by British to Asiatic seamen? Lascars. The term, Lascars, originates from the Persian, lashkar, meaning army or camp. It was adopted by European colonial powers, particularly the Portuguese and British, to refer to local sailors and militiamen employed on their ships, especially those from the Indian subcontinent. The revolver, with a single barrel and a number of chambers for cartridges fired by a one-lock mechanism, was patented in 1835 by whom? Samuel Colt. Samuel Colt revolutionized firearms with his patent for a revolving breech pistol in 1835. His invention, the Colt-Paterson revolver, significantly improved rapid-fire capability and marked a pivotal development in the history of weaponry. A cornea is found in what part of the body? Eye. The cornea is the transparent, outermost layer of the eye that covers the iris, pupil, and anterior chamber. Its primary function is to refract light, accounting for a significant portion of the eye's total optical power, and to protect the eye from external elements. Who, according to the Sumerian king list, was the fifth king of Uruk around 2700 BC, and became the central character in one of the best-known works of early literature, where he was described as two-thirds god? Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh, a legendary king of Uruk in ancient Mesopotamia, is the central figure in the Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the earliest surviving works of literature. The epic recounts his quest for immortality and his friendship with Enkidu, providing insights into Mesopotamian mythology and worldview. What is the name given to an unidentified serial killer who was active in the Whitechapel area and adjacent districts of London, England, in late 1888? Jack the Ripper. Jack the Ripper is the infamous pseudonym given to an unidentified serial killer active in London's Whitechapel district in 1888. The murders, primarily targeting female prostitutes, remain unsolved and have become one of history's most enduring mysteries, spawning numerous theories and investigations. What is another name for a hippocampus? Seahorse. The term, hippocampus, is primarily used in two contexts, as a part of the brain crucial for memory and spatial navigation, and as the scientific genus for the marine fish commonly known as a seahorse. Seahorses are distinctive for their upright posture, prehensile tails, and the unique male brooding of eggs. Which mountain chain runs along the border between France and Spain? Pyrenees. The Pyrenees are a mountain range forming a natural border between France and Spain, extending approximately 491 kilometers from the Bay of Biscay to the Mediterranean Sea. They are a significant geographical feature impacting climate, culture, and history in the region. Hernán Cortés de Monroy y Pizarro, known as Cortés, conquered which empire in the Americas? Aztec. Hernán Cortés was a Spanish conquistador who led an expedition that caused the fall of the Aztec Empire, bringing large portions of mainland Mexico under the rule of the King of Castile in the early 16th century. This event marked a pivotal moment in the history of the Americas and European colonization. What is the medical term for an inflammation of the larynx characterized by coughing, harshness, or loss of voice, a choking sensation, and difficulty in breathing? Laryngitis. Laryngitis is the inflammation of the voice box, larynx, often caused by viral infections or overuse of the voice. This condition typically results in hoarseness or complete loss of voice due to the swelling of the vocal cords.